Time to wake up. It's Saturday morning. Find some milk and cereal. Grab a bowl and spoon. No, a bigger spoon. Head to the living room and take a seat on the floor while Joseph and Chris present to you Saturday Morning Cartoon!
Hello everybody and welcome to Cartoon Boom! This is a show where we go to the Saturday morning sun, pops on the floor, the big bowl of sugar is hero, we'll try your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
And this morning, we watched Robotech.
Wait, they didn't have like actual robots in here. Why'd you do that?
You could imagine them sounding like that if those mechs talked,
if they could talk,
right?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel they'd be like, kill me, please.
Life is pain. Oh
man. Instead, you just went for the default robot. Yeah.
Robotech.
Yeah. Well, Robotech, yes, is what we watched. Who was it suggested by?
This was suggested by LoveForTheCup via Twitter and Blackrain via Discord. And I guess what we ended up doing was only watching Robotech, the Macross saga. And I guess there's other Robotech,
which I'll go over in a second, but a little bit of lead in. The last episode we watched was the last episode of the Macross Saga season. And then like, as it was giving us a preview of what was coming next, I was like, wow, none of these characters are the same. This is really weird how they're just like changing it to something different entirely. And now that I've read up on it a little bit, it makes total sense in a really interesting way.
It's not like the end of the Macross stuff though. Right? Like, because there's a total, like, oh God, it's so confusing.
Well, yeah, because like I didn't research this entirely, but I know there's like movies associated with it. There's like follow-up series or something. I don't know if it's a series, but like there's follow-up movies.
Macross stuff. Or Macross, I guess is how
I had heard that name Macross so many times before, but I had never really associated it with Robotech just because I didn't know. But now that I do, I mean, there's so much to dive into.
Yeah, there is, like, just looking it up, it seems like there's a whole bunch of different Macross things. Like, I'm even seeing like so I guess technically like Robotech was Super Dimension Fortress Macross, but there's also like Macross 7, Macross Frontier, Macross Delta. I don't know if all of those are interlaced in any way or what.
Yeah, I don't either. And what's interesting, well, I'll go over it in the marshmallows. So give me a second. Let me lead into that.
Okay.
But the show Robotech aired in 1985, and it is based on, well, part 1 is based on Super Dimension Fortress Macross, like you were saying. Part 2 is based on Super Dimension Cavalry Southern Cross, and Part 3 is based on Genesis Climber Mospiata? I'm not sure how to say that one.
Sure, why not?
The series Robotech, like these 3 series combined together, was created by Carl Masick, produced by Harmony Gold USA, and then the original series were produced by Studio New, Artland, and Artmic. This ran for 3 seasons, 85 episodes total, and originally it was a first-run syndication, also on the Sci-Fi Channel, on Cartoon Network, and then KTEH, which I'm not sure what that is. For a short synopsis, an alien spaceship crash lands on Earth, and the technology and secrets she bears lead Earth into 3 destructive interplanetary wars.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's pretty basic. But okay, so I'm going to ask you who some of the actors are playing this show, but we only watched the Macross season, you're only going to go over those, right?
Yeah, that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to throw this out there. Like, if people that are really big fans of this, if they want us to do other seasons of this at some point, like maybe we'll do that. But this show was so dang confusing because of how it was put together, with it being like 3 different shows Frankenstein together. That made this part really hard. So yeah, I just did that part. That was my long-winded way of saying, yeah.
That's all you had to do was say yes.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what I did, because I wanted to 2-in-1 this thing. Because if somebody is ever just like, hey, I want to suggest you guys do Super Fortress Macross Saga someday. And I'd be like, dude, can you just go listen to our Robotech episode? But the voice actors were not the same, even though the content was the same. So this is what I did. I threw them all into one. So you're getting all the voice actors in one episode here. So Rick Hunter here for Robotech. And now I'm going to caveat this. Their names are slightly different depending on if you're watching Robotech or Super whatever Fortress Macaroni Saga. So just bear with me and just give us a little leeway here. But Rick Hunter.
Yeah. Can we call it macaroni sauce?
Macaroni sauce. Yes, I like that. Super Fortress Macaroni Sauce. Rick Hunter was originally in the Japanese version of Super Fortress Macaroni Sauce, voiced by Hikaru Ichijo, and then in Robotech, voiced by Tony Oliver. But then in the English dub of Super Fortress Macaroni Sauce, voiced by Vic Mignogna. So that's how that's the order in which I'm going to say all of these names now, because I don't want to say it each time. I'm going to say the original Japanese voice actor, the Robotech voice actor, and then the English dub of the Macaroni Sauce. There you go. Lin Minmay, voiced by Mari Ijima, Rebecca Forstadt, and Elizabeth Oram. Captain Gloval, I think in the other version, his name's like Bruno or something. Anyway, voiced by Michio Hazama, Greg Finley, and John Swasey. Lieutenant Commander Roy Foker, voiced by Akira Kamiya, Daniel Warren, and Brett Weaver. Commander Lisa Hayes, voiced by Mika Doi, Melanie McQueen, and Monica Rael. Claudia Grant, voiced by Noriko Ohara, Iona Morris, and Christine Otten. Max Sterling, which in the other version, I think his name is Max Genius, which is great. And a little on the nose.
Yeah.
Voiced by Sho Hayami, Cam Clark, and Chris Patton. And then Miria Sterling, or Miria, Genius, voiced by Eri Takeda, Edie Meerman, and Lucy Christian. And that's all I want to do. I'm done. We're done. We're moving on. It's so confusing. Like I went through it and in my head, I'm kind of like, okay, I think I have a handle on it. No, I'm still confused.
So let me try to clear a little bit of that up with some of the tasty marshmallows in our big bowl of Robotech cereal. So the decision to create this series came from Carl Masek, who was disappointed, and this is going to resonate with us a lot, in the crude alterations made to Gatchaman from 1972 in the creation of Battle of the Planets. So he was disappointed in seeing how they had altered it for an American audience. So he's like, no, that's not what we're going to do here. So he wanted to import an anime series of his own and have it faithfully translated for the Western market. However, the best series he could obtain, which was the Super Dimension Fortress Macross or Macaroni Sauce, had only 36 episodes in it, which was far too few for the standard 65 episode syndication package. So what he had to do was get those other similarly themed series, which was Super Dimensional Cavalry Southern Cross and Genesis Climber Mos Piata. He then connected the series as a grand epic of succeeding generations of characters in the series that are forced to fight 3 successive wars over an alien energy source called protoculture that the enemy is desperate to capture. So all that is to say, this was done intentionally. These series were combined because they had to have enough episodes for syndication. And for the most part, they are translated like one for one to what they are in the Japanese version, because this guy is kind of like us. And like when we were talking about Gatchaman, when we reviewed that, where we're like, man, the westernized version was so different from the Japanese version. And in this case, they're almost like one for one.
That's cool. I mean, I applaud the effort. I booed the confusion that I had to experience, but I do applaud the effort and the intention.
Yes, the effort and intention were spot on. I'm totally down for that. I'm glad he did it. It did suck that he did have to like try to combine all these together and make sense of it, because that does get a little convoluted. But for what he had available, I think he did the best he could. So also, the original 1985 series left viewers hanging with an unresolved ending that was not continued until the release of Robotech The Shadow Chronicles from 2006, over 20 years later. So I guess the series just ended on a cliffhanger of some sort.
I wonder what that would have been. Interesting.
I don't know. And I'm assuming, well, it had to have been like the end of the third season because it was pretty like direct what happened at the end of the Macross saga.
Yeah, we literally see somebody close a book at the end. So we're like, I guess that's done.
It's over. There's also a running gag throughout the Macross saga where Captain Gloval hits his head as he enters the bridge of the SDF-1.
I caught that. That was really funny, especially because it happens during like really important like moments.
Yeah. And the reason for that is it was an homage to the famous blooper in Star Wars when a stormtrooper hits his head on the door in the Death Star.
That's great.
So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, like something really important's going down, and like he's like running in and just bonks his head, and he's like, ah, and then like ducks in and just, you know, he rolls with it. Like they don't draw like tons of attention, and they don't overextend or over exaggerate the scene. They make it like a very real human kind of reaction of like you were panic running into the room to address the situation, and you do run into something, and then you're like moving on. So basically there's like 3 different versions of this Macross Robotech show, and that's confusing. So let me tell you something that'll make things a little easier for you, and that's making sure you're subscribed to this podcast. Yep, all you have to do is open your favorite podcast app, search for Cartoon Boom, and hit the subscribe button. That's it. You'll never miss an episode or have to go searching for us ever again. So if you haven't already, subscribe now and share the same easy steps with your friends and family to make their lives a little easier too. Then they can concentrate more on other things, you know, like fighting aliens, because they're coming. I know you can feel it. They're coming.
So yeah, had you ever heard of this show before? I'm sure you have, right?
Yeah, I had heard the name for sure. I had a brief idea of like some imagery of it and definitely knew the logo. But as far as the content and the story, I was confusing that like last week when we saw it. I was confusing it with Exo Squad, which I think is probably easy to do based on like the 2 names, Robotech and Exo Squad. But so like I think all I really knew was the premise was like piloting some sort of like, you know, robotic machinery, and that it would involve space and in some aspect, and that it was an anime. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's funny because I was kind of thinking of something similar. I got it confused for Mech Warrior, which is another like mech piloting kind of show. Or I don't even know if it was I don't remember if it was a show or not, or just a video game, but it's the same concept of these pilots like piloting these mech things. But I didn't realize with Robotech is that they were like Transformers also, kind of. It's these jets that can then turn into mechs.
Basically Gundams, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And so that was an interesting, like, I guess, surprise to me coming into it.
Yeah, I didn't know that was going to be the case either. So that was cool. I thought it was just basically spaceships and, you know, basically space jets. I thought that was pretty much it.
And so let's just start talking about the episodes we watched for today's show. The first one was Boobytrap Season 1, Episode 1. And what we were just talking about leads into that well, because we don't really get introduced to the mech aspect of this until the very end of the episode, in the same way that the human character does, our main character, Rick. And so I just thought that was a really cool way that they introduced that, because it's like, oh yeah, now we're all surprised by it. It's like, oh, these jets can turn into mechs, because they don't make a big deal of it throughout this episode at all until the end. It's
kind of cool too that we get Rick as kind of our, you know, he's the everyman that you get every once in a while in this series of, even though in this one, he's definitely not an everyman because he's an extremely skilled person, but as far as our introduction to like how all this stuff works, he's our everyman because he has no idea how this technology is going to work and that, you know, it can transform and things like that. But I mean, this thing starts out giving us a lot of background about what has happened in this world. So this is, you know, we're looking at planet Earth, and I think they said in 99.
Yeah.
Yeah. This alien ship slams onto Macross Island, and we're in the midst of like a big world war, and everyone's just like, oh snap, you guys just see that? maybe we should let's pause on this for a second because there's bigger stuff up there, and we didn't see that coming.
Time out on this war thing. Let's
Yeah.
do a peace treaty because now we have aliens to worry about. So we need to unionize here and work towards defending ourselves against them. So that's essentially what they do for the next 10 years is try to figure out, because there's no aliens on this ship that has crashed into Earth, but the technology that's on it is like well above any of the technology Earth has at the time. So the next 10 years are spent like kind of building a base or a town around that ship and then trying to find out how to repair it and take advantage of the technology in it.
Yeah, they like build a whole bunch of stuff using that technology. Like they build new jets and they build their own spaceships and fortresses and all kinds of stuff, like new weaponry, like military stuff, which makes sense because in real life, I think that's exactly what would happen, which is a pretty cool idea. Like I just like how they set that up because I'm like, this actually feels pretty realistic as far as that goes. You know, of course, like, you know, there would be a bunch of countries at least that come. I don't think we'd be able to put all of our differences aside enough to be like, hey, we're now just a single world government. So that's fun. Like they did here. But as far as like all these governments, like making sure to use this technology and then, you know, start creating new things based on it. That's totally what would happen. But yeah, it kind of jumps several years, I think 10 years later. And they're kind of like, hey, we've done all we can with this stuff. We've got all these new like ships and we figured out how all this works. We're having a celebration day. Woo! And then some aliens show up.
Yeah, Celebration Day also happens to be the day when the aliens who were hunting this ship happen to arrive at Earth. And they're like, all right, I'm pretty sure the ship's here.
Yeah.
Let's find it. The ship now having been repaired, this is the SDF-1 that we were talking about earlier. Having now been repaired, it has like the reason the episode's called Boobytrap is because it has like a booby trap on it set to where when when one of those attacking aliens comes anywhere near it in its proximity, it will fire off like its huge laser automatically, because the people who are on board the ship trying to control it were like, oh man, like it's taking control. I can't turn this laser off. And just blasts up into space and like blows up 2 or 3 of those ships of this alien armada. So like, and the commander of the other ship's just like, oh yeah, it's definitely here on Earth. It's definitely on this planet.
We got it. All right. Full scale invasion time. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. I like too that it was just like they're celebrating like, hey, we finally figured all this out. World celebration. And then like this thing fires and they're like, oh crap, we didn't figure this out. We really goofed it, guys. We called it way too soon.
And the whole time, so the aliens are the Zentradi, and the whole time, like the commander of the alien ship, when the Earthlings are trying to attack him in their jets and whatnot, or I guess their spacecrafts, he's just like, why are they using these primitive weapons? Like they're acting like they don't know how to use like advanced weaponry, because in this alien's eyes, it's like they just, you know, hit 3 of his ships or whatever got blown up. So he's thinking that they're kind of holding back, but really they just don't know. And they are kind of throwing pebbles at his giant ship.
Instead of like throwing pebbles, it's more like we created some sort of vast nuclear arsenal that we don't know how to make explode. And we're just throwing it at them and not exploding. Exactly. We're just throwing it. And they're like, wait, you know those things go boom, right? Like, why aren't you booming it?
It's like we built a nuke, but it's just a shell, and just throw the shell at them.
Yeah. Ha! Take that.
You've been nuked.
And they're just scratching their heads like, what?
Huh. All right.
But so before all the craziness happens, we get introduced to Rick, who's wearing a real fancy ascot. And he shows up in this goofy looking plane, and I guess he was part of like a circus, like a flying circus thing. You know, I guess like an air show type situation, like Blue Angels or something like that. And he goes to visit. Well, at first it sounds like it's his buddy, but then he makes it sound like it's his brother. I'm going to guess half brother. I don't know. They look nothing alike and have completely different names. So I'm not really sure how that worked out.
Yeah, I thought they were just friends at first too, but then later in the episode, they're repeatedly calling each other big brother and little brother. I'm like, oh,
Constantly.
okay.
Yeah, but not till later, which was weird. So I feel like that was kind of like halfway through the script, they're like, let's up the ante. Let's make them brothers now. We're brothers.
Well, I do remember Rick mentioning dad, but I thought he was just talking about his dad, not their dad. So I don't know.
But
it was a whole thing.
Lieutenant Commander Roy Fokker is his apparently older brother, who is kind of the one like sort of leading this whole thing and really showing off to all the citizens like all their new stuff and how the Robotech, what they're calling the technology, how it all works. And Rick comes in, he's kind of like a hotshot sort of. I say a hot shot. He doesn't really have like an attitude about it. Like he's not like
just
Maverick
a very skilled
and Tom Cruise.
pilot.
Yeah. I mean, he goofs off and he shows off, but I don't think he realizes that he's showing off. It's kind of like he does some goofy tricks and stuff, but he thinks he's like, he thinks he's being helpful.
Yeah, he's just having fun and trying to show people he does have skill, but he's not like boastful about it or anything.
Right.
Then like the way that he kind of gets thrown into this grand battle is Roy, his brother, like lets him sit in one of the Robotech ships just so he can like, I don't know, see what it feels like in there. And then that's when the battle starts. And so everybody else is like flying into space to fight these, or just flying up to fight these enemy aircraft. And then he happens to be sitting in one of the Robotech jets, and the one of the people, it might have been Lisa. I'm not sure who.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like she's like, hey, you're on the ship. Like we need you to get up in the air and start fighting.
Like,
and he's
why
like,
are you just sitting there, you dummy?
Well, I can't really take off. Like the ground's been kind of destroyed, or the runway's been destroyed. She's like, well, just take off here instead. So, I mean, he does it. He happily like flies up and joins the battle. And there's a lot of like back and forth with Roy while he's up there flying, and they're helping each other out. And Roy's having to kind of save him because he's not used to this air combat at all. He gets really taken down. Like he gets shot down and his plane is like plummeting towards the ground, and he's about to like hit the main base as well. And then that's when they're just like, oh, turn on configuration B. And he's like, I have no idea what that is. So she tells him to pull the switch. And that's when we get our first reveal of like the mech that jet can turn into, and kind of just launches Robotech in general to us.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he killed a lot of civilians as he landed.
Oh, yeah. Like as the alien landed, as the mech landed, it kind of like skidded across the ground and like destroyed all these buildings.
Yeah. So Rick definitely killed a lot of people there. Like a lot of people.
At a certain point, he was probably trialed for murder, but we didn't see that.
What's really important about this episode, too, is like part of the reason that Rick, not only because he's not used to the technology, but also part of the reason that he did so poorly up in that battle is Rick was very against, like he never said, hey, I'm pacifist, but he's very against, the war. Like, there was a war 10 years ago, like, prior to this and stuff. He's very against like fighting and things like that, which is why he sticks to the doing the circus stuff. And he makes it clear that he doesn't agree with what his brother was doing. But, I think that's part of it. Like he's obviously been holding back, and he's just kind of like, he's not in his element. And so he's not only thrust into this battle of which he doesn't know how to respond to it. He doesn't even want to. So he's basically a sitting duck up there, and definitely gets shot down quickly. Like he does not last long up there.
Yeah, he gets thrown right into the fire by accident, but as our main character, it was kind of a cool introduction to him and us kind of getting to experience all of this new stuff with him.
For sure.
So the second episode we watched for today's show was Force of Arms, season 1, episode 27, which is the highest rated. And this is where the grand fleet of the Zentradi bombard Earth and devastate it, while the crew of the SDF-1 and its Zentradi dissenter allies prepare their retaliation. Yeah, that really gives a lot of this away, but it is not exaggerating. And this is where I saw this show in a completely different light than I expected to.
Yeah,
Because
me too.
I thought based on the first episode, it was going to be pretty chill, like not chill, but just like any other like action show where, you know, they're holding back a lot. It's like you never see people actually getting killed or anything, even though it's a war. It's just like a lot of it's more implied. But no, in here, you're actually seeing this Zentradi force like bomb Earth, and they call it the Zentradi Holocaust, where they destroy most of the surface of the Earth.
Yeah, I think they said it was up to 70% was
Yeah.
obliterated, and it happened in seconds.
It was insane to see that, because that just shows you how high the stakes were when I didn't expect that at all. I thought it would be like, oh, Earth is victorious, Earth wins, but that's not how this story plays out, at least not in the
No.
Macross saga.
It was pretty crazy. And what was really jarring for me at first, but I really ended up liking it, is the idea that like we just came from this first episode where the aliens that they were fighting against are now allied with them against these other aliens led by this guy named Chiron. And I guess I think from what you said there basically is that the ones that they were fighting in the first one were kind of like defectors from Chiron, and they were basically, they're like, Chiron is a tyrant and this evil dude, and like they want to stop him. And so now he is coming and invading Earth, and Earth and the defectors have kind of realized, hey, we're actually on the same side. So like let's take out the big bad. But they oopsed it. They oopsed it bad.
Well, yeah. So we already talked about Earth pretty much being eradicated. Everyone who was still on Earth, at least. Not everybody. Like some people survived who were in like bases and whatnot. But
anyone in space, like, I mean, obviously, you know, dodge that. But yeah, some of those, a few of the bases were, I think, partly underground. So I think that's how some of them survived.
Yeah.
Like the Alaskan base where Lisa was partly underground, and that's where they had that giant energy cannon. And even that, like, I mean, it survived to an extent, but it only lasted like one more shot, and then that thing was gone. And she was the only one that ended up living.
At least the only one who Rick was able to come pick up.
Yeah.
And then that also like shows us that there was some sort of like relationship brewing between he and Lisa, but also he and Min-Mei, who is this character. She's an actress, I guess, or a singer.
Yeah.
A famous singer. And okay, so I came into this with hesitation because of like what their plan was. And then like as I saw it like playing out, I was like, okay, I kind of like this now, but it sounded dumb from the start, where it's like, Min-Mei, we need you to sing a song like across the frequencies, our radio frequencies, to confuse the enemy. And then one of the aliens is like, also, I want you to kiss a man in front of him, because that'll really gross him out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it does. Like,
It's funny.
this random guy comes up and like they kiss on camera where the aliens can see him, and they're just like, ugh, gross.
They're all like get a room.
Yeah, they're so distracted by it that their ship gets destroyed in the process.
I do want to say two things about that.
Yeah.
One, I know how you're like, at first I thought it was dumb. It's still pretty dumb.
Okay, fair.
Regardless of how stupid it is, I still love it. Just because of like how over the top ridiculous it is. That's the direction they went.
Let me tell you what I really found endearing about it, though, was while this whole battle's going on, this cool, like awesome epic space battle scene, that music, like her song is playing as the background to that. And I just thought the juxtaposition of those two things is what really sold it for me. But you're right. The initial idea is not, it's pretty dumb, or at least really corny. But it kind of worked out in a way.
Yeah, and here's the part of it that actually, like, if you think about it a little harder than the surface, there is a part of it that makes a little bit of sense. And that is what the defectors were talking to, what's his name, Captain Gloval about, which is like, because this idea was Rick's, and who brought it to them. And what they said is the Zentradi, at least these Zentradi, are 100% removed from Earth's culture, and they would not know what music is. They have no idea. They've never, ever been exposed to it. And kissing also is not a part of their culture. Like it doesn't exist. They don't know what that is either. So if you think about it in that way, yeah, that would be strange for them to all of a sudden be like subjected to. My thought is like, if if you and I, like, if we were in a spaceship and we were fighting against like some other culture, and all of a sudden all of our screens are just like covered with some woman just making a screeching noise at us constantly, you know, and we'd be like, wait, what? what is this? And then
What
all of
is
a sudden,
happening?
I'm just trying to think of something we would find. Like, I don't know, like some dude comes up and they drop trout and they're just rubbing their butts together.
Now,
We'd be like, "Ew, what?"
some dude comes up and just starts licking the other one's eye, like over and over again.
Yeah, ew. We'd be
Yeah,
like,
right?
oh, dude, what?
It's like, oh, sick. What are you doing? We'd be
It
so
would-
distracted that the enemy could easily take advantage of us.
Yeah. So is it dumb? Yeah. But I get where they're coming from with it. But it's fun. It doesn't matter that it's stupid because it's fun. It was a fun way to do it. The song was catchy. It was like 10 minutes long of her singing the same stuff. Minmay is on the SDF-1, and not only is she on it, she's on like the like the platform, like the command. So like where she's just dancing around and singing and stuff, you can see like all the destruction right out the window, right outside of where she's performing.
Oh yeah.
And so like as that main one of the main ships is distracted, like the SDF-1 just plows through that ship and then blows it up from the inside. And that was super cool.
That was awesome. Yeah, where you could see Minmay singing, like you said, but you can also see like the, I guess, front part of the ship, like powering up to ram through the enemy ship. While she's still singing, all this is happening and it goes right through it. And then the enemy's like surprised, like, well, they're going to kill themselves too. And so, like, they put up a barrier. The SDF-1 puts on a barrier and just like launches all of its weapons into the center of the ship, blows it and like all the alien forces around it up. And that's where that's where Earth is, or not Earth, but that's where the humans are victorious, even though there was a great cost.
It was pretty epic. Like, I gotta say, as ridiculous as this episode was, it was probably one of the most epic things I've seen in a long time.
Especially with how it, like, I guess, went way above our expectations of what this kind of show could be, since they didn't pull back with the translation at all.
And then Rick finds out that Lisa was the only survivor of the Antarctica base. So he flies out there to save her, which was good because that thing started to go kablooey right after he got her out of there. But what was weird about this, and things make more sense in this next episode, but like the beginning of this episode, Rick's just like, Minmay, I love you. All right, bye, I'm on going to space. Just like gives her no time to react. And then, later Minmay comes and she's like, hey, I love you too. And they're just like, express their love for each other. And Rick's just like, yeah, I really do love you. Wish we could have had more time. All right, bye. And just keeps kind of trying to ditch her, it seems like, even though he keeps telling her he loves her. Then he goes and saves Lisa, and he's getting awfully cuddly with Lisa after saving her. And then after they see all the explosions up in space, and Lisa's just like, what if we're the only survivors? Rick's just kind of like, he had just expressed his love for Minmay, right? And then when Lisa's expressing this idea of, what if they didn't make it? What if, the SDF-1 is gone? What if all of our friends died? Rick's just kind of like, that wouldn't be so bad. I'm like, wait a minute, Rick. Dang. Like, wow, dude.
Yeah, Rick took a big stance against that. And you're right. The next episode kind of clears up those feelings a little bit. But it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, he took a really cold approach to it.
Yeah, he did. And Rick is kind of cold, honestly. And he doesn't get that much better in this next one. I mean, it clears things up, but that doesn't mean that he gets better.
Yeah. And so at the end of this episode, they're just like, well, Earth has pretty much been destroyed. So now the survivors just have to start rebuilding. And that's kind of where that leaves off, leading us into the last episode we watched for today's show, which was also the last episode of this season, meaning the last episode of the Macross Saga, To the Stars, season 1, episode 36. This is where Lisa's final visit to Rick before leaving on a space mission under her command becomes unexpectedly dramatic thanks to both Min-Mei and Chiron. Man, this episode made me really dislike Min-Mei, which is unfortunate because I liked her from the previous episode, and then she became like really annoying and clingy in this one.
Yeah. I this episode made me dislike a lot of people, to be honest. I was struggling with Rick in this last episode, and then I really disliked him in this one, and also Min-Mei. I mean, I think Lisa's the only one I came out of this show really having a lot of respect for, to be honest.
Yeah, so this is where, just to start off the episode, they're kind of just talking about where the shadow of impending doom has fallen over the crew of the SDF-1, not because anything's happening, but because they kind of feel like something is going too soon. It's the calm before the storm, and we're getting to see people kind of settling back down on Earth. Rick and Min-Mei are now an official couple, and she's trying to convince him to leave the army, and she's going to quit singing so they can just lead a regular life and get married. And so Rick is like definitely not for that life, and he expresses it pretty well. At first he's just like, well, I don't know, maybe, or whatever. But then on the other side of that coin, we have Lisa, who is like very distraught and heartbroken over the fact that Rick and Min-Mei are together. So she's considering retiring from the army altogether too, or from the Earth Space Force, whatever it is, altogether, just because like she doesn't want to be in a situation where she needs to continue working with Rick because he prefers Min-Mei. It's very dramatic in that way. They really like ramp up the drama in this episode.
We got ourselves a good old-fashioned love triangle going on here. So to make matters worse, Chiron didn't die, and one of the ships was still not really operational. Chiron and some of his guys crashed into, I think it was the Amazon.
Yeah.
And over the past several months or whatever, had been fixing up this ship. And now they don't have a fleet anymore. It's literally just whoever's on that ship. But they're just like, you know what? We're going to fix this up and we're just going to bring the heat. Like whatever we've got left, we're just going to go for it and we're going to get our revenge. So that's kind of his plan. Lisa goes to resign. She goes and talks to Captain Gloval.
He's an admiral now.
Admiral Gloval. Yes. And when she goes to resign, she instead ends up with a promotion. He just talks her into like being promoted instead, and she's going to be going, to space like permanently.
Well, he's saying what we're all thinking, which is like, you can't disregard your duty because of some stupid romance. And she's like, oh my God, how'd you know? And he's like, anybody could see it. Like, come on. What are you doing?
Like, seriously, you're standing around weeping, going, Rick. So, yeah, he's just like, come on.
So he was speaking for all of us in that moment. And she's like, you're right, duty comes first. And he's wanting her to command this new battle cruiser, the SDF-2, which is going to be what they send out in space to try to find the Zentradi planet so that they can like launch an initiative strike instead of waiting for them to come back with more forces.
I love that. Because he's just like, here's the deal. They'll be back someday. So before that happens, we will not allow Earth to be the battlefield again. The next battlefield is going to be their planet. So he's like, nope, we're going to take the initiative. We're going to go out there and we're knocking on their door. So I was like, dang, that's great. I like that. So then Lisa's just like, okay, cool. I guess I'll take that promotion. Let me go talk to Rick and just let him know, hey, I'm going to peace out. So she does that. She knocks on Rick and Min-May's door, and then she's just like, hey, just letting you know, we won't be working together anymore. I'm going up to space forever. Also, oh my God, I love you, and I always have, and oh my God.
Yeah.
Which is basically exactly what happens. And I was like, dang, right in front of his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And then Rick's just like, oh man, like I don't know what to say. And Min-May's like, okay, well, bye, Lisa. It was nice seeing you. She's really trying to rush her out of there.
Yeah, like bye. And then Lisa starts leaving and Rick goes after her. And Min-May's like, WTF, dude?
Yeah, what about me?
We're together.
Yeah.
I was talking about getting married and you're running after this girl. Like, what? And then Chiron's just like, what's up? And attacks everybody.
Yeah. Chiron breaks the tension with literal bombs and starts like,
literally just starts bombing
area.
Everything as this goes down. I was like, dang, like timing.
Chiron has no chill, and he is just like bent on revenge. So much so that like he starts approaching the ship that Lisa's going to be piloting, the new ship, which is SDF-2. He's really after the SDF-1 because he wants revenge. So he goes kind of through the SDF-2 to get to it. And that's when, as a last ditch effort, which I really like this part because I'm like, man, this dude he had a plan and he was willing to go through with it no matter what, along with his crewmate who he's like, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to basically do a suicide run here because I have to get my revenge, even if it cost me and you our lives. And she's like, all right, I'm down. And so they take the ship that has now been disabled by the other weaponry and just crash it right into the SDF-1 just to finally get rid of it. And even like when going down in flames, you're seeing them like the deck light up or like burn up. And then they're just like laughing and cheering over their victory, and they die in the process. They kill themselves to do it, no matter what the cost was.
Oof. It's nuts. Like he won. Chiron won.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about.
He destroyed the SDF-1 and 2 in the process.
And 2. Yeah, he destroyed both of the ships and everybody on them. They're all gone.
You're right, except for Lisa, because at the last minute, Admiral Global sent her into the ejection bay, and she was able to get out of it. But I think everyone else on there, including Admiral Global, are now dead.
Oh yeah, I think that ended up making Lisa Admiral, right? Because I think she was next in command at that point.
I think so, since she was commanding that ship. Yeah.
Yeah. So. It was pretty nuts. I didn't expect all of that to happen. Like that really threw me for a loop. Rick and Lisa go back to Min-May, and Rick asks Min-May for forgiveness because she's just like, oh, you love Lisa, don't you? And he's just like, yep, you want to forgive me about that? She's like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Forgive me also, because I didn't really want to get married. Because I really do love music. I just didn't want you to do your fighting thing anymore. So I was going to be like, hey, if you stay with me, I'll give up doing my thing because I don't want you doing this thing. And yeah, it was toxic and all that. So, and they're just like, okay, cool.
Luckily, I mean, they were just kind of just getting out of it. Like, hey, by the way, everything's cool because I forgive you and I'm going to focus on my music. So no hard feelings. Like they just wanted to, it seemed like, wrap up that part of the episode and that part of the series, I guess.
I do like how Lisa, though, is just like, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Like, hey, don't worry. Like your boyfriend I just stole from you. Don't worry. I got this. So
I wish Min-May had been like, Lisa, please. And just
just bye, Felicia.
Yeah.
It was, that was rough.
It was a little rough. And can I just say, real quick, Chiron reminded me so much of one of the Supreme Kai from Dragon Ball Z.
Yes, I was thinking it too.
He had that whole look to him, even with the big collar and everything. But anyway, and the purple skin.
Yep.
But Chris, looks like it's about time we send our kids to work aboard the SDF-1 or 2 or 3 when they make it. and try to get them in on some of that sweet mech action. Then see what they thought of the show, Robotech.
This was a pretty neat show with lots of explosions and spaceships and a few robot-y thingies here and there, but mostly lots of weird drama that I don't really understand, and that part got kind of boring. And, like, how did that girl help sing people to death? Was she really that bad?
This show really took me by surprise. It was kind of like Transformers, except way more brutal, and now I want to go collect all the action figures and have killer space battles. Except for the Min-May figure. I don't want her trying to talk Rick out of it again.
So, what are some of the things that you liked about this show? Let's start there.
For me, I thought it was surprisingly mature, and I say surprisingly because it literally was a surprise. I came into it with no expectations, and then expecting it to be a basic like 80s Americanized and action anime. And then what I got was a surprisingly one-to-one match of what the show was supposed to be originally in Japan, which didn't seem to pull any punches, and that really made a world of difference to me. And also, like, the intense action, like the combat scenes were really well done, and the jet mech combat felt intense and frenetic. The space combat felt epic in scale. And this sort of chains off of my first point, but the fact that they didn't filter it for the American audience made the stakes feel so much higher. And like that Earth eradication and then the kamikaze run from Chiron, like that, I was completely floored by that, but in a good way.
I 100% agree with that. I think the story as a whole, it's super intriguing. I like the setup a lot of the alien ship crashing and then Earth prioritizing its crap and using the technology. I kind of talked about how much I really like that and how much that resonated with me. And once things start going down, the good guys don't always win. Or if they do, there's such a cost, like when the whole Earth pretty much gets wiped out and that it happens in just a matter of seconds. So I think that really broadened the scope of expectations. And it says like, hey, anything is on the table here. If you think we're going to be wearing kid gloves, we'll kill a whole planet. And then you'll watch and see how you feel about that. And that to me was so very unexpected and such a big moment. And thinking like after that second episode, I was like, well, dang, did they jump the shark there? I mean, can they really top that? And they kind of do. I mean, it's on a much smaller scale as far as like death toll and things like that. And considering the impact on the characters and me as a viewer in that third episode we watched with Chiron's just like his suicide run right there and the impact of that, like what happens, it hits just as hard, if not harder there because of what happens. And it feels like in the end that we mostly lost. And in the end, it kind of feels like the heroes having to look at the silver lining of what they have left because they lost the war. And I thought that was such a unique perspective for a show to take, and one that I don't think I've ever experienced before, for like something like this to actually end on the villain kind of winning. Something that I also really liked and appreciated was his just maturing past the point of where he was in that first episode of he doesn't believe in the fighting and stuff like that. Like he didn't want to participate. He didn't want to support his brother and what his brother was doing and stuff like that, and how he was kind of like a pacifist and stuff, to the point where he's sucked in, he's a part of it. And he says something, he and Lisa both say something to Min-May in the third episode we watched that resonated a lot, and I really like. And I think would resonate with a lot of people, especially like vets and things like that, when they say, we hate this war as much as you do. Like we don't want to fight it. We hate it, but we have to fight it because it's bigger than us. Like, other people are depending on us. Like if we don't do this, then it's over. Right. So I love that he took that journey and came out the other side of it, kind of having a way better understanding of, it wasn't about choosing something and just being like, oh, well, yeah, I choose to fight and that's who I want to be. It's choosing to stand up for others and choosing to go to the extreme to protect everybody else around you and like kind of sacrificing a part of yourself to do that. And I think that was really cool, even though he definitely matured the opposite direction when it comes to women. Like he definitely got worse.
Yeah.
But and how he handles relationships. But I thought that growth was really cool to see, and it was really evident in the 3 episodes we watched.
For our dislikes, was there anything that really stood out to you?
Oh, there's plenty. To be honest, the animation's really rough throughout this whole thing. There's many instances where the cells are layered on top of each other and don't match up. You can see a lot of things clipping. So like clothing clipping through a cockpit, or like pieces of a ship clipping through another ship in certain places where it's like you can tell what was background and what was layered over what. Things were just a little janky and just a little goofed up a few times. In the second episode we watched, where Rick is supposed to be contemplating something, did you see the part where his eye just goes like all goof and it's like about to wiggle right out of his face? It's atrocious. Like, that was pure nightmare fuel. His eye just starts wiggling like crazy, like it's doing a little dance by itself. And I'm thinking, man, forget Min-May's song. This man's eyeball is something to fear. Put that on the big screen. They're going to turn tail and run if that's infectious. They're out of there. They don't want none of that. So,
right.
That's over.
Oh, man. For me, like, the character interactions were sometimes, and dialogue exchanges were sometimes very cringeworthy. And, I get what they were trying to do, like make those personal connections with these characters, but I really feel like they went overboard. And since I think it was like a 1-to-1 translation, I don't feel like it was something that was lost in translation. Like they just made it weird for the American version. I think that it was authentically like that, but I think what might have made it more awkward than it was maybe in the original Japanese version is because at this time they were probably trying to like match dialogue to like the frame pacing, and they didn't have at the time, or at least from what I understand, like they did with Speed Racer, where like he would talk really fast, and then it's like they were trying to like match up this dialogue with the way the characters were moving around, but it was very serious dialogue, so sometimes the delivery felt really awkward. And I think that really kind of tarnished those like moments that were supposed to be a lot more emotional or feel like a lot more dramatic, I guess. So instead, they kind of came out feeling pretty awkward at times.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think probably the biggest issue for this is that for all the deep drama and atrocity that befalls these characters, I think the directing for the voiceover against the animation, it was really lacking. Like, Earth gets wiped out and Rick's like, "Aw, dang, who would have thought? Well, hey, Min-May, how do you feel about singing us a song?" Like, my reaction as a viewer was much more dramatic than anything we saw the main characters do at any time. And I think that's a big shame because there's so much potential there in the show, because like the story itself was fantastic, but there was like there was just no depth in the voiceover, it felt like. And I think you're right. I think for the reasons that you stated, I think that's why it felt that way. I think they were trying maybe too hard to match the pacing and stuff, and gave little to no effort towards the emotion of the scenes, because it should have felt like these characters were just like, they should have been straining themselves. They should have felt just horrified or empty at points like that. And it just, a few times, it just felt like any other time of day, like somebody asking what time it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, it's 5:00. But with the exact same reverence, it's just like, oh no, the Earth was destroyed. So it's like,
right.
Like that was definitely the biggest pitfall of this entire show.
But even with all that, like overall, I'd still give Robotech 4 big bowls of Configuration B bite cereal out of 5, and definitely recommend checking this one out, at least the Macross season or the macaroni sauce season. I'm not really sure about the others, but that's just because we didn't watch any of them, so I don't know how it continues. But this is like a really epic, like large scale season that I think you definitely need to check out.
Yeah, for as much as I disliked about it, and with what I just said, the story's awesome. It definitely had me wanting to watch more of this first season so I can better understand the progression and see everything else. And it has me wanting to check out more of not only of Macross, but also I want to see what else they do with Robotech, since it's like totally different stuff for seasons 2 and 3. And I just want to see how they decide to tie it all together. And, is there any legacy of the first one that carries over? I'm so interested in this story and want to know more about it now and see more of it. And it absolutely hooked me, despite having some very serious flaws in its presentation. But all that said, I also gave it 4 bowls of 10-minute victory song cereal out of 5. And before we go, we do have a 5-star Apple podcast review with a comment for me to read out loud for everybody. So I'm about to do that for you. This comes from Junie Back. Remember me? Joseph, you remember Junie Back?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Remember me? You probably don't. I wrote 2 other 5-star reviews that you won't be able to find because I edited them and replaced it with this one. And I'm here to recommend something that I would like you to watch. It's called Pretty Cure. It is one of Toei Animation's biggest franchises and one of the biggest, if not the biggest, magical girl franchises in Japan. There are several for you to choose from, but only 4 of them available to watch on Crunchyroll. She lists some of the other ones. She personally recommends Go Princess Precure, Heart Catch Precure, or Smile Precure, and then says, do not watch Glitter Force! In all caps.
Oh my God.
You have been warned. Remember my name because I'll be back eventually. And that's it. I didn't know that you could go back and like re-edit your rating, which scares me a little bit. That they can go back and edit their rating at any time. I'm worried at some point we're gonna let people down and they're gonna go in and start changing their.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? I'm downgrading you guys to a 4-star instead of 5. You disappointed me with that Winx Club episode.
But that also makes me want to be like, hey, Arthur Allen, the guy that gave us 3 stars because we hadn't done Samurai Jack yet. Since we've done it now, you can go back in and re-edit it to give it 5.
Yes.
So get in there, Arthur.
And I've gone back and watched that entire series. So take that, Arthur.
Take it, Arthur. Take it and like it. Anyway, thank you so much for that. And we'll watch something from Pretty Cure, and it won't be Glitter Force.
Well, now I'm super curious about Glitter Force.
I was really worried that was about to happen. I was scared you were going to say that.
How about this? I'll watch 1 episode of it and I'll deliver back how it is and whether or not you should watch it. And I may or may not do it in all caps. We'll see.
So you have to scream your entire review of it.
Yeah. And it's going to be a 10-minute review. So it's nonstop screaming. And also thank you to Love for the Cup and Blackrain for suggesting this show. This is something I didn't know I needed in my life, but now I need more of it.
Yeah, and this is like one of those things where like every once in a while you get one of those animes that you just latch on to and you're just like, man, I need some sort of memorabilia of this one. And this is one that I'm there. I'm like, okay, what can I get? What's on Amazon that I can find?
Right. Yeah, dude, I was already looking up the toys. I want one of those mech figures. I just don't know which one yet.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff. So thank you both very much. We really, really enjoyed it. And I'm excited to check out more of it for sure.
Absolutely. Well, listeners, it looks like our milk supply is now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. And in 2 weeks, we'll be watching
The Christmas Tree, suggested via Discord by Jack Fox for a little bit of Christmas in July. Jingle bells,
we're finally getting to
bells,
it.
Jingle. Oh, yep. This is supposedly one of the worst animated movies of all time.
We've
the
seen
worst
some pretty
Christmas
bad
movie.
ones. We'll see.
The worst Christmas movie of all time. So thank you, Jack Fox, for trying to ruin our lives.
Yeah, appreciate it, bud. Thank you.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. And I think I've got some ideas for this one specifically. We might do something a little extra special with this as well. But you'll see. You'll see. But I'm hesitantly excited for it. That's all I can say.
I'm excitedly hesitant for it.
There we go.
Once again, I'm Joseph,
And I'm Chris.
and we'll see you in 2 Saturdays.
We've got to win if we want this victory.
We gotta win!
Presented by Nerdsloth.
A place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.